It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering Season 11 of Cookie Alliance. So, we're going to go into the toppings for Wildberry, being high damage resistance, high attack. Yam, high damage resistance, high attack. Eclair, high damage resistance, high cooldown. Cotton, high damage resistance, high cooldown. Pure Vanilla, high damage resistance, high attack. Second team, speed team, we've got high attack speed, high cooldown for Kumio, high critical rate and high attack speed for Madeline, high damage resistance and attack speed and critical for Caramel Arrow, high damage resistance and cooldown for Black Pearl, critical resistance and damage resistance for Mint. We've got critical resistance and damage resistance for Milk Cookie, damage resistance and critical for Clotted, damage resistance cooldown for Sea Fairy, max cooldown as best can be for Oyster, attack speed and attack power and cooldown for Rye. We got damage resistance main focus for T-Knight, damage resistance and critical and attack power for Crunchy Chip, damage resistance and cooldown and crit resistance for Financier, damage resistance, attack, and cooldown for Sorbet, attack and cooldown and attack speed for Vampire, and the last team is going to be HP and damage resistance for Dark Cacao, damage resistance and cooldown for Caviar, cooldown and crit resistance and damage resistance for Pomegranate, damage resistance, attack speed, cooldown, and attack for Espresso, and crit and attack speed for Cream Puff. So we're going to jump right in and show you what's going on with this season. These special buffs are going to be 2% to damage of relative to stun targets. So this team is going to help with that because Wildberry gives stuns as well as Cotton with the sheep. So we have 2 units doing stuns to the enemy team, which is going to be creating extra damage against the enemy foes. Secondary, we have the charge cookie attack bonus of 8%. This is going to be specifically attack bonus buffing Purple Yam Cookie. Now you could run other cookies too, that is true, especially with Werehound, Brute, or Schwarzenegger coming out tomorrow. You could probably run that cookie in the team as well. Yes, hi Kitty, thank you for joining the video. And those cookies are going to be doing extra damage against the enemies this round. And then last but not least, we have the common cookie HP bonus buff of 140%. Now, if you're running specific builds that you want to run the common cookies, you can. Do I have a specific team for it right now? No, I do not. I could look into it if that is of interest to you guys, but I am showing you the team that got me the farthest and what is going to work well for you guys. So, as you can see, right now we are running Pure Vanilla, Cotton, Eclair, Purple Yam, and Wildberry. It's a very strong combination. Didn't work at all last season, really, because there was too many shielded enemies, and you can make the effort to switch between on certain stages such as this where there is shielded foes, but it depends on your treasures, your monuments, your cookie levels, your skill levels, and all of your treasures and everything. All of that's going to play in to how far you can get in the waves with a single team. So when you see people saying one single team, does this amount of waves, kind of take that with a grain of salt because that really does depend on everything you've got unlocked. If you've only started the game, that team might not actually do much at all for you, depending. So it does kind of depend on all of the unlocks that you've achieved. Now, as far as for me, this team does really well for me because of all the unlocks that I do have, all the labs that I have upgraded. Purple Yam is just taking most of the damage. I mean, you can see here in the stats, 16 million, well outpacing Wildberry, who's got attack toppings on. Still outpacing Eclair because of the overall speed and damage that Yam can do with the magic candy. So that's making a big difference in this setup. But what we are doing and why we do have Eclair on the team still because we want those extra shields to give us time for healing and time for preparation as the waves do eventually start to get harder. So as you can see, and I apologize for the length of this video, Alliance videos are always usually a little bit longer, but I at least try to fill the void with some talking points and understanding as to why the team's doing really good. Now additionally with the treasures, we've got the scythe here because we want to do not only extra regular attack damage, but we also want to do extra healing from Pure Vanilla and from Cotton Cookie. What we've discovered and learned over the time is that healing is increased with attack speed on the healers. You have to balance this in a very careful and coordinated way to make it work really well, but it does end up doing really good in the long run for your team if you do so. So for instance, with the stats and the healing here, we're about 16 million of healing between the two of the cookies, just based on the way we have our topping set up. As you can see, these blue waved enemies technically could be taken down with shield removing cookies, such as Dark Cacao. So we could make an effort and an option to put Dark Cacao in instead of Wildberry, seeing as that would be an extra 8% attack bonus for Dark Cacao. But the thing that we like about Wildberry is that we do get that extra 15% damage resistance on our team. We could pump it up even further if we really truly needed to, and we could run Cream Unicorn instead of Pure Vanilla, or even instead of Cotton Cookie for the extra damage resistance. Now the thing is though, the shields are a really, really big deal from Pure Vanilla in Alliance mode, because in most cases, there's not a lot of enemies that remove shields. And since it's based on HP, and if you have a lot of unlocks and a lot of HP labs ascended, you're going to have some pretty big beefy shields that most enemies won't be able to deal with pretty easily. And that's why you can see that our health bars really aren't adjusting too terribly much in most of these waves, because of those HP shields and because of how high our HP is. So as you can see, wave 35 with Tiger Lily, you're probably going to hit some heavy hard points at that stage. Onion Cookie can actually do some really heavy damage if you leave her unattended. As you can see, our backline took some pretty heavy hits there even. So do consider that when you're fighting through these stages, that Tiger Lily and Onion are probably going to be a hard gate stop for most players at the lower stages. So easy ways to combat them is just having quick ways to take them out, whether it be using a speed team or a one-shot team, or if you know that your cookies are going to die and you can't prevent that, use the insignia with the T-Knight setup, and you can get through the boss waves at those stages that way. Now, as you can see, we're starting to take a lot more damage. We're having units that can directly attack through our entire line rather than attacking specifically one certain setup. And so for that reason, that's why we're starting to get a little bit more damage on our backline, even though we've got some strong defenses in the front. We're also starting to hit some poison waves up here, which can be pretty strong against Wildberry, just because it's a damage over time rather than a damage being able to be blocked. And so that's something that can be a little bit cumbersome against our team as well. And as you can see here, Mango can do quite a lot of damage, being able to actually attack all of our lines. Now we're able to just barely survive it, so we did not have to switch this time, but it's definitely more damage being done to our team. And here's where we start to get into the points where damage is going to be pretty tough along the entire battles, so we're going to have to micromanage and pay attention to what's happening against our teams. We'll use the first revive on Wildberry if it does end up coming to that, which it should. But we're okay with that because we're going to push through just a few more waves with this team, and then we're just going to start lighting up with as much points as we can before we actually end up taking too much damage. Vampire up in this stage is really good against our healers in the back, as you can see. So you're going to start losing your capabilities to keep this team alive at these stages. So best to get through as quick as you can with the speed team and start to run them. Then after these waves, we're going to shift over into the Milk team to get some good pressure and good attack presence on the enemies. Plus we also have Milk redirecting damage towards him with the magic candy, while our big damage dealers are in the back just pushing through. And of course we have an AoE team here because of Cream Puff attacking against us. And we're going to move over to the Dark Cacao team next, so that we can fight AoE with AoE. Then the Faded Dark Cacao, or Dark Chocolate team that you'll often find in a lot of battles. We're going to move over to the T-Night team before we end up losing everybody. And we're going to persist through with the damage over time and the insignia working in our favor to take T-Night to just drive along the actual teams. Hi, how you doing? Other Kitty joined us today. And so now at this point, we're just running the rest of our team to get through what waves we are able to get through. I'm sure that there's probably a few optimizations that we can make to maybe get a little bit further, and I can definitely research and look into them. But if you haven't gotten to wave 60 before, I don't think that this is the season to do it. I think about 2 to 3 seasons ago was probably the best option to be able to get all the way to wave 60 without too much struggle. There is options, I'm sure, to get to wave 60 during this season, but as you can see, it's overall a strong season towards, I'd say, wave 46 and above. And these are the team setups that did pretty good. As you can see, we're ranked 78 right now with 5 million points. So it's a respectable amount. And we were able to get through pretty hard and fight a lot of enemies, hence why we got so many points. But let me know in the comments what you think. At least we have special rules again for this season. We didn't for last season. I still don't know why. It's very awkward that we didn't have them last season. Maybe they just felt that we didn't need them for that season. But it is good to have them back this time. So if you want to take charge cookies into battle, if you want to wait until tomorrow when Schwarzer comes out, then use that cookie instead of Wildberry potentially because of the stuns, which means extra damage. So that means that Schwarzer's actually going to do really good for that reason. And I can cover a video on that too. But either way, I'd love to hear your feedback and thoughts on the video. And thank you so much for stopping by. Have a wonderful day.